Aw shit, here we go again. Hello everyone and welcome to the Brothers Take podcast, where nerdy brothers get together to talk about all their interests, primarily gaming, but also from time to time movies, TV shows, and music. My name is Kris. I am joined once again by my brother Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room for the first official episode of 2025, which is going to serve as sort of an epilogue to 2024. And a prologue to 2025. Because in this week's episode, we are going to be catching up and letting everyone know what we got up to, what we played, what we watched over the holiday period. And we want to hear from all of you guys too. What did you play? What did you get up to? What did you watch? Do let us know. If you're watching YouTube, jump down into the comments to share what you've been getting up to. And if you enjoy this episode, please do give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all the future content that's going to come this year. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on what you got up to over the holiday period, and also on the things that we got up to. If you also played those things or watched those things, whatever it is we're going to be bringing up, like Indiana Jones, like Squid Game 2, like Nosferatu, any of these things, we want to hear your thoughts too. But without further ado, look alive, let's kick off 2025.
There's just all the rhyming schemes in there.
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Yeah.
Let's address, first of all, the Adam not in the room.
Okay.
People may have noticed, if you've been following our podcast for a long time, you may have noticed our third brother, Adam, less and less on the podcast. And so he did say to us towards the end of the year that he would be taking a step back from the podcast. He just doesn't have the time to put into it. And then if he's giving the only free time he has to do it, he's not actually playing anything. And
No.
he hasn't got the time really to commit to it. And we had always said that this podcast it's our hobby. We just do this for the crack. We don't do this. We're not getting paid to do this.
No.
Clearly, I think if you check our views and our subscription levels and all that kind of stuff, we only do this because we enjoy it. And if it becomes something that's not enjoyable or a chore, then there's no point in doing it. Obviously, he's still part of the Brothers Take as far as we're concerned. At any time, if there's a topic, if he has the time to come on, if there's a topic he particularly wants to talk about, the door's always open for him to come on. But it's just to say that he probably won't be a consistent on every week with us going forward. And just to put that out there, rather than it becoming a thing where it's very noticeable, it's like, where is Adam? Just so you know, he hasn't got the time to fully commit to the podcast going forward. So it's going to be me and Eric as the sort of main co-hosts of the Brothers Take going forward.
Yay, wave some flags.
Fuck this.
Yeah.
Everyone suddenly goes, I'm fucking out of here. These guys don't know anything.
We want our tech talks.
Did I put that in the best way I could, Eric? Or is there anything you wanted to say on that? Or
No, I mean that is what it is. I mean, yes, because he definitely last year, for sure. Last year he just seemed to have been. No, I don't know if he was able to sleep last year. To be honest, he just seemed to have been so busy. So yeah, there was nothing he could do. So yeah, it made even with Fantasy, he actually let's just for clarification of how busy he's been last year. He still hasn't finished Rebirth.
Yeah,
which came out last February, March.
Yeah.
That's how busy he's been. So yeah, if he might be. Luckily, hopefully, he's not as busy this year. It'd be nice for him to,
come on
get
now
a
and
break.
again and all that kind of stuff.
So hopefully,
but more so, rather than coming on, actually just having the time to enjoy shit.
yes, you know what I mean. Because so hopefully he's not as busy this year, so that he can enjoy stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, last year he was just up the walls.
But he has been enjoying, I think, the Christmas break. We have been
Mm,
doing stuff together, and we're going to be talking about
yeah.
that on the podcast. Like we all still hang out all the time and all that stuff. So it's got to be like Linkin Park. He's for any Linkin Park fans out there, and people know that we are. And our biggest episode last year was our album review of From Zero.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's gonna be like Brad Delson. You know what I mean? He's still in the
Right.
band, but he's behind the scenes. He's not playing live
Yeah.
anymore, but he's still involved in like decision making and things like that. And we'd still like look to him for advice on certain things or um on topics. Like he was actually involved in the, even though he wasn't on the episode, but he was involved in the top PlayStation games of all time thing in terms of
He
like he
was,
helped
yes.
put that list together and that kind of stuff. So that's just to address that, so that it doesn't become a whatever happened to the third brother. Where, for those of you who don't know us very well. But now let's talk about the stuff that we got up to over the Christmas break. And since we're primarily, or have been primarily, a gaming podcast, let's start with games first. And then, of
Hmm.
course, we could talk about movies and TV shows and anything else that we got up to as well in the back half of the episode. But, Eric, anything that you played over the Christmas break that you want to talk about?
Apart from the things that we together played as the brothers,
Yeah.
apart from them. Okay, so you just want me to mention the fact that you gave me Astrobot and I
No,
played cleared Astro.
well, only if you want to.
No,
Only if
no,
you-
no, that's what this was all
Well, you
about.
did, though. That is what you played.
Yes, I played and cleared Astrobot.
Yes, this is one that I don't see us ever doing a spoiler cast on Astrobot. It's just not that kind of game. Like,
It's a
you know what I
it's a
mean?
type of game where you should just experience the twists and turns that that story has to
Absolutely.
offer.
We will
Yeah,
never
the character
spoil.
development.
We will never spoil Astrobot on you guys, even if you've played it. We wouldn't do that to you.
Uh,
But it is, I think it's one of the best games that came out last year. It won Game of the Year. It wasn't my personal favorite, but I can understand if it was for other people. And I think when you played it yourself, you saw how kind of enjoyable the game is.
Did I?
Or did
Or
you not
did I
like it?
rage? Or did I rage quit several fucking times because
Go
some
on.
of those levels?
Give us your review of Astrobot.
Okay, on a technical scale, it's incredible, right? The what do you call it again? The not Dual Shocking.
The haptic feedback?
Thank you. The haptic feedback is
Yeah.
incredible on the game.
Mhm.
Okay. And the fact that they brought back the whole you blow into the controller to make wind blow and all that stuff, where it's like, why is that not in more games? That'd be cool. Um, it is a love letter to PlayStation.
Mhm.
So it is very like nice when you collect all the different characters. There is a lot to do in the game. There's a lot of levels. It is a full fleshed out thing. It's very fun. I can understand why, a lot of people loved it, but I am of the theory the main reason they gave it a year is because some of those levels are fucking Soulsborne hard. They're
No.
stupid hard.
No.
All right, yes, and they're like, oh, we can't make people find out that we're always going to give it to a Soulsborne game when we can, so let's give it to Astrobot. That's not family friendly. That
I-
fucking game is so bloody hard.
The levels you're referring to mainly, though, are optional. They're not the main missions.
No, they're not
So-
the main missions.
So,
But
they're
there was
optional.
one
You don't
main
have to do
mission.
them.
There was one main mission though that was making me want to rage quit. Like,
Fair enough. I think platformers are hard, though. Platformers are always hard.
yeah. So that's not bad. That's not family friendly.
But they're family friendly in terms of like tone and in terms of like palatability, and like there's nothing mentally complicated in the game in terms of like you're not going to get challenged on your worldviews or anything like that. You know?
True. Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, and it depends on your reflexes and stuff like that. And obviously, you can't put Astrobot on easy mode. I would say it's easy to play though. It's an easy game to play. It's a hard game.
Yes.
It's a hard game to platinum. That's
Yes.
what I would say.
Yeah. 'Cause I even there was times when I was trying to punch things and it was like the arm would just like barely would like skid past him, and so it didn't count. And I was like, what the fuck? What kind of Elden Ring bullshit is this? Just punch the fuckers. No, it is a really good game. I can understand people very much enjoying it, and it getting Game of the Year Like, I'm not gonna be all butthurt about it, but you know, it's like some of those missions go fuck themselves. But the
But
end, I do admit, when it gets to the ending,
yeah,
it is very worth it. The ending is, Christ, I'm looking at me. I need a fucking haircut.
I think you look great
No, it's just like a
personally.
fucking, it's
Like
just
you look
Jesus.
fantastic.
Anyway,
I think you look fucking amazing.
all right, thanks, Chris. You're overselling it now.
You
Make
look
it less
so
believable.
fucking good right now.
But yeah, no, it's really good, and I think the ending, I could see kids crying at the end.
Maybe. I could see full grown adults crying at the end. I think the ending is very, very good
Yeah,
and really like encapsulates the entire experience that you've had. And in
yeah.
that way
There's like
is a really good finale to the whole game.
really good finale of the whole game. It's split up into like five sections, I suppose. The
Sure.
first two sections were probably my like favorite
Okay,
of
yeah,
the final
yeah,
boss for its musical ambience that it has for
yeah,
those two parts.
yeah, yeah.
Again, we're no spoilers. We'll never spoil this game on you, so we'll only
Never,
talk in.
never, never. And I do love the. I think like the one criticism I have of the game really is that there should be more themed levels because they are
Yes.
incredible and they're like highlights of the game. And for me, three of them were very much yes, these are what we want, and then two of them were like they're odd choices to me. Maybe
One of
other people
them,
would feel differently.
one of them is the most mid. The very first one you ever do is a bit like it's a lot like it feels so much lesser than the other teamed missions.
And then another one feels incredibly obscure.
Then the other one's like, yeah,
There's
it's
another
like
one where it's like
okay,
I think most gamers are not gonna fucking know what this is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that game was a huge PlayStation hit, but I don't know.
that yeah, no, for see the thing is though that particular level, I think
Hmm.
that's number four actually, which is even really weird as well to put it that late into the game.
Right.
But that's like even it's not one of the main consoles. That wasn't on one of the main consoles. That was one on
Yeah.
that
Now,
was on the
okay, I appreciate that it's like taking in
acknowledging
all
its
of
existence. Yeah.
PlayStation's history and stuff, which is great as well because like last year was the 30th anniversary of PlayStation.
Mm.
Astrobot being like the perfect game to celebrate 30 years of PlayStation, really. But yeah, I think I could have done it with a few more themed levels. Um, but
Yeah.
other than that,
I
like collecting all the characters and all was amazing.
yeah, because see when you're playing through it, there are certain, you know, the way you have those themed missions and they get their own little sphere, little
Hmm.
circle on the crash site, which is like your home base in the game. It's the only spoiler we'll save for the game. Um, and then there's other ones where you do collect characters from the same game and they get their own little mound. And there's a few of them where I'm like, they're more iconic, and I feel like they should have had a themed mission over the other two that we actually get.
Yeah, I would
I'm not
agree.
saying that those shouldn't be in it.
Yeah,
I'm saying that
as well as.
as like they could have had a mound, and then one of the other ones that had a mound could have their own sphere or little circle platform.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good game
So
though. It's very technical. It's a technical marvel. Fair play. Good job.
yeah. I wonder will any of the other well I suppose Nintendo kind of have had crossovers, not done in that way, but they've done like, the
Well,
Super
Smash
Smash
Bros.
Bros.
Yeah.
And the Mario Kart tends to bring in lots of characters to the Nintendo universe. So I wonder eventually in I don't know what form it would take, and maybe it'd be more of a first person battle royale. But at what point will Xbox do
Oh, a
a
hero shooter live
celebration?
service.
No, but a celebration of the Xbox franchise. I'm wondering what form it would take. It wouldn't make sense to make a platformer that doesn't sound like Xbox.
No.
Like it,
Yeah.
but whereas if it was a first person shooter in the form of like Halo, but it's all characters. It's not just Halo characters. It's like the Gears of War characters and fucking the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Doom and lots of
Mm.
different characters in one big battle royale. But no, not live service. What the hell? Why would you even suggest that? Don't put that out in the
I don't
universe.
know. It's just,
We don't want that.
No, of course we don't want that. But I'm just saying that some games.
I think we're going to see less of that.
Thank fuck.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're not doing well. Like,
No, of course
look
they're
at
not doing well.
Concord.
Yeah.
What happened
I
last year?
kind
It
like. Do
didn't
you actually
even.
ever watch? Speaking of now, like Concord, and did you ever watch the Concord episode from Secret Levels that
I
came
haven't
out
actually. No.
in December? That's actually not a bad. That's not a bad one in context of like storytelling and everything. And you watch it and kind of go, you watch that, you watch the cinematic trailer that they released as
Mm.
well, and you kind of go, yeah, this doesn't say hero shooter. To be honest, it's a bit like you ever watch the cinematics to Overwatch,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you're looking at it going, no part of this says hero shooter multiplayer is the way you should have went.
Well, it's kind of, that was always the way with like Blizzard cutscenes, wasn't it? Was like,
True.
which is actually what that whole secret level show basically was. Every episode was just like a Blizzard cutscene to a game you're never gonna play.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it was like, well, I know that game looks amazing. I bet you it doesn't play like that, you know. Which is what all those cutscenes. They were always like the most amazing
Mm.
cuts. Same with like those Star Wars ones, like
The Old Republic
the Old
ones,
Republic
yeah.
ones and everything like that. And like no shame to the or no shade on the games at all, but the cutscenes always looked like a very different game. And it's like you can't even imagine how that's gonna play. Like you're looking at all this amazing choreography and being like, holy fuck, like this looks like some Force Unleashed but on next level kind of shit. And then it's
Yeah.
like it'll actually be like a top down thing or something.
No, no, those were
You know?
MMO.
No, no, I know I'm exaggerating. I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about like you could get the most amazing cutscene to something, and it's really emotional. And then when you finally play the game, the graphics look nothing like it, and the viewpoint
And
is
it's actually
completely
yeah,
different. And
it's one
you
of
know,
those mobile base builder games
yeah,
then.
yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Where it's like this looks what the fuck. I used to anytime I got shown those trailers when I was younger, but people were like, "Oh, look, this game looks amazing." I'm like, so you say I haven't seen the game yet, so I always got skeptical of those kind of trailers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There was a I remember there was a guy I went to college with. He used to say no his kind of motto to it was no game, no hype, which was essentially if you don't see gameplay, don't bother get hyped over it because
Oh yeah,
a
yeah,
trailer is, a very scripted thing that might not match
yeah.
what the game
Especially if
is.
it's an IP you don't know yet. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
if it's the sequel to something that you've already played and it's just an announcement trailer, then I think a cutscene is fine because you're
Right,
like,
like the
I
next
already
Gears game.
know kind of yeah, where you're like, I
Yeah.
already know this franchise, I already know what they play. Like I'm just like I'm now excited by the premise or something like
Mm.
that. But okay, so that was Astrobot. What else did you play over the holiday
I
period?
played more of Mass Effect. I was playing Mass Effect, the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Mass Effect 2 at the moment,
Amazing,
and yeah, it's
amazing,
so good, so good. It's
so
so
good.
good.
They hold up.
The whole yeah, it's like honest. I remember actually playing through when I was playing through Mass Effect 1. There's there's a human political party in Mass Effect 1 called Terra Firma.
Mm-hmm.
Who are all about like humanity should stand together and not really rely on aliens and stuff like that. And then I remember you have a conversation with them, and you start saying, "Well, how come some like what they're asking for your support?" You're like, "I don't know if I can support you," especially because some of your fans, some of the people your supporters, they're very like anti-alien, and then your man's answer was just like, "Oh, well, we can't control what they say." And I was like playing this, going, "Fuck, this is really like grounded, believable, like political shit that happens even in our own world." God,
Mm.
those games are
They're so good.
fuck, they're so good. Like, you know
They're
what I
so
mean?
good.
As you get older, you just start like realizing all the layers they have to each thing. And yeah,
If it
it's
was to be
amazing.
adapted in any way, which I fully imagine at some point it will, because I think everything big is going to at some point.
Yeah,
But like, do you think it should be a movie or a show?
I think a show.
I think Mass Effect would work better as a show. Yeah, there's certain things where you're like, that should be a movie, that should be a show, and like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Although I
no
think they're
matter
going to
'cause
turn everything into a show now because they're going to look at it going, all the shows are the ones that are working, and it's like, well, you haven't, you just, you just keep doing the movies wrong though.
yeah, you just
A
you keep
movie
hiring
could
Paul
work.
W. S. Anderson, and he just fucking
Hey, you leave that man alone. That man has given us pure popcorn gold.
oh yes, he's given us entertainment,
But
but in terms of being
and
truthful to
what's
the
wrong with
adaptation,
that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with just being entertained? You know what I found highly entertaining?
Squid Game 2.
No, well, I'll get to that later.
Okay,
That's not a game. It is a game, but it's not a game we play. No,
or
you
is it?
got for me and Adam Space Marine 2.
I did.
We have started it.
We
We
did.
are going to be playing it over time.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just old school. It's
It's
just
all
old
it's old
school
school
fun.
fun, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's
It's
just
just
back to roots, like.
yeah. And it's definitely as because obviously there's a for anyone that hasn't played it, um, it feels very like Xbox 360 era, right?
Yes.
That's what I would say. In a good way though. Not that's not a critic like old school Gears of War. But you have to play the opening section on your own first, right?
Mm.
So I have that as a comparison to then playing with you guys. And I will say, as fun as it is to play on your own, it is 10 times more fun to play with people. Like, it just
Mm.
is. It just, there's more crack with it. And also, it helps then that because you guys are way more into Warhammer 40k lore than I am. So you
Right.
guys are my like codexes as we play it. Like I'm like, so what's the story here? Like what's with these guys? Or who's the good guys? And you're like, yeah, what is a good guy? You know? And
Yeah. We.
it helps because I can literally be like, what's that thing? And you guys are able to just like fill me in, and that's
Mm.
really fun for me, obviously, because I don't have to like read up the codexes and stuff.
Right, because the game definitely doesn't, unlike Mass Effect, because in Mass Effect there is codex entries where you
Hmm.
can learn about everything. Space Marine 2 definitely doesn't give you anything. You either know or you don't.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
amount of like people, like I've seen people play the game and they'd be like, "What the fuck am I looking at?" When it comes to like some of the weird, messed up shit, and other people would have to like explain it to them. But it's definitely gotten a lot of people into Warhammer.
the way they do the for anyone who hasn't played it yet, and if you have, let us know what you think of it. But like the way they do the swarms and stuff in it is incredibly impressive. Like you see so many
Mm.
enemies on screen, and there is an element of oh fuck, like we're fucked. But yet, you make it true because you just
It's just Space
like
Marines.
they go down easy, but it's just
Yes.
there's lots of them. So
Yeah. And there's
that
not
feels good.
as so satisfying when one of the small Tyranids like jumps at you and you just press the parry
The
button and you
parry, love it, love the
instantly
parry.
kill. I think there's been a few times anyway where I might be playing it and like an enemy jumps at me and I press the parry and all I do is like kick them and they just explode across my
Yeah,
foot.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, this is satisfying.
It's badass.
Yes. So I back to what you were saying, that's like old school 360 PS3 era of games.
Hmm.
That's not a bad thing because
No. I don't say that as a negative. Yeah,
that era, I just think struck such a beautiful balance of being able to tell a cinematic story,
hmm,
but yet still actually have gameplay for you to play, rather than there was definitely an era, maybe late PS4, early PS5, where it was like, this is a lovely cutscene. I think I'll put the controller back then.
yeah.
where where everything is just kind of way too focused on the trying to be an Oscar movie and kind of forgetting about the fact that this is a game. So that's the nice thing about Space Marine 2. It's like, yeah, I got a game to play.
And it's nice to have both,
Yes, it is nice to have
rather than
both.
we don't want everything to be the same
Yes.
because the variety is good. I yeah, I'm finding it's a really really fun game to play. I'm curious about because you have completed the game on your own first, and
Hmm.
now you're obviously going to do a playthrough with us. Um, and I assume we're still early days into the game,
Hmm.
in terms of how long it is. But how does it compare so far with playing on your own versus playing with people? Like, does it drastically change how the game feels, or like because you'd be able to compare that better, I think, given that you've played the whole
Um,
thing solo first.
well, there's elements of what they're no, well, it's more crack. It's definitely more crack. I think there's an element of immersion. You're a little bit more immersed, I'd say, when you're playing on your own
Sure.
because you don't have other people talking. But then the kind of fun is gone. Um,
Yeah.
but I like you get less stories, I think, if you're played on your own.
I know what you
Like
mean. Yeah, you can
for
make
instance,
it more. Oh, do you
there's
remember
a
that time we did this, and then you were in a pinch, and then you jumped in and saved me, and
yeah,
or
yeah,
like the
like do you
little
remember
jokes you make as well as you play.
like do you remember the point where we had the jump packs
Yeah,
and we were in the main area
yeah.
and
Me
you
and
were
you were
like,
doing everything.
no, well, I was doing everything.
Fuck you! What are
You
you talking about? I was killing loads of
you
people. I killed
That's not the
about
objective.
600 Tyranids,
That
and
wasn't even the objective.
you completed the objective, which was 4 bombs or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And then Adam was like, what he was doing. I don't know where he was.
Yeah, I don't know where he was. He was like, geez, where? I think he was fighting one guy the whole time, and you were
Yeah,
surrounded.
I was surrounded.
And I was
I
like,
killed about 600 tyrants. No joke.
yeah, and I was just like, this is great. They're keeping him distracted while I do the objective. And then by the end, Adam was like, what's going on? Oh, I have to detonate something here. And
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
and he
no,
did
that's
the
fine.
fight.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
actually blew up the thing, and I was like, but I did all the work.
He took the credit. You did all the work. Fuck you. I did all the work, guys. The fact that you were able to do that was because all the enemies were with me. I was the distraction. No, I know what you're saying. I probably wasn't helping much at all.
Well, you kept him off my back, helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, if anyone's out there playing Space Marine 2, let us know how you're getting on with it. And as we get further into it, especially when we finish it, I'd definitely like to do a full episode on Space Marine 2. I think that'd be fun. But speaking of games that feel old school, I have played and completed at least the main story, but not the. There's a lot of side stuff I could still do. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and that
you
is
finished it.
another game that feels like it's from the 360 era.
Nice.
And again, I mean that in a positive way. It does feel very old school. Sometimes that means it feels a bit like, what the fuck? Like, is that really how I do this? Like, the level design can be a little bit like, oh, if you jump on that rock that's not very clearly labeled, you'll get to where you need to go.
Right.
Because we're so used to everything being so perfectly laid out
And yellow.
nowadays, and yellow or whatever. Yeah, it's not always clear what you're supposed to do. It's a very surprising game in terms of the way they marketed it is not necessarily the game that you play. And I would say it's not the initial start is like, if you're an Indiana Jones fan, that's exactly what you want probably, and it's very, nostalgic and stuff for Indiana Jones fans. But when the game really starts, it starts off weird, and you're like, oh, I don't know about this. This is a fucking strange way to start this game, but the more you get into it, the better it gets, and then it does get to a point where it gets really good. It's like, oh,
Okay.
I fucking love this. Like, there was a whole section, in Thailand. Well, Siam it was called back then.
Well,
Loved
that's
it.
nice that they did the research to know what the name of the countries were.
Oh yeah, they've
That does
definitely
sound-
done their research in terms of what they're referencing and things like that, and what was going on historically and as well as mythologically. So no spoilers here, but obviously if you're an Indiana Jones fan, it has all the stuff you would want from an Indiana Jones game. You got your temples and your puzzles and snakes and Nazis and humor. There's a lot of humor in it. The music, the guy who did the music, I think is the guy who also does the Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order games. He's very good at imitating John Williams.
Yes.
So the music is all original, and obviously there's moments of the theme, their theme, but they don't overplay it at all. They only use it very sparingly. But he's very, very good at imitating John Williams, and the whole score sounds like a classic John Williams score for an Indiana Jones movie. It's a globe-trotting adventure. It has moments of Uncharted. It has moments of stealth, moments of Hitman. I said it to you before. It kind of feels like, at times, it feels like you're playing a VR game with no headset.
Yes, you
In
did
terms
say
of the
that,
random
yeah.
things you can pick up and hit people with, and strange. I think to look at, it looks boring. And it looks weird, and it looks very like, you're like, why is it going from first person and then to third person and then back to first person? Make up your mind. Which one is it? Like, and yes, when you're playing it, it kind of works. It's really weird because I was a naysayer and I was very much like, they fucked it in all the trailers, and then because it's on Game Pass, tried it and played it to completion, really enjoyed it. I think they rushed the ending, and I don't know why. I don't think the ending was particularly. Like, it didn't reach the heights of some of the other parts of the game. Some of the other spectacles that happen in the game felt bigger and more climatic than the actual ending. So I will say that. And the combat is not great. But in saying that, it's a hard one because it's like they're really trying to imitate the experience of Indiana Jones. And so you can't put in like Arkham style combos and stuff.
Right.
Because that's not Indiana Jones. Literally does fisticuffs. If you watch the movies, he'll throw the odd punch and maybe run away, or he'll shoot the revolver once at a guy with a sword, or
Hmm.
he'll use the whip, or he'll pick up something, hit someone over the head, and run away. And they've tried to imitate that. So that's it. Like, you don't go around shooting Nazis. Like,
No.
I
In
very
fairness,
rarely fired a gun in the game.
and in fairness, most of the times when he's actually in a full proper fisticuffs, it's with the big giant henchman. And usually Indy's getting his ass kicked, and then something happens and he gets the upper hand.
Yeah, and if you want that experience, it's also in the game. There's big
Nice.
henchman and all that kind of stuff. There's the classic kind of villain, and lots of like, intellectual like dialogues between them, and a battle of wits kind of thing. The highlight for me though was the different temples and the puzzles.
Hmm.
Absolutely awesome. Like, they were brilliant, and I think in that sense, when you're in first person, it does feel like you're more immersed in the environment. Like,
Right.
that's really cool. Um, there's supernatural elements, which is cool, like which all the Indiana Jones movies have in some way, shape, or form. And there was one bit that absolutely fucking terrified me, like genuinely scared me to a point of like I freaked out, and I my heart was racing in my chest. Um,
Nice.
and Troy Baker does a great job.
Does he
I
do a
have
great
to
job?
say, he does a very good job at a 1980s Harrison Ford. Parts where I think there's issues. Again, like I said, the combat isn't great, but it's not the reason you play the game, really. It's more like the exploration is the best part. You're rewarded for your curiosity,
Hmm.
always. Um, but the audio sometimes is fucking weird. Like,
Oh, really?
for other characters, like when other characters are talking to you outside a cutscene but in game. I don't know if this was for everyone. Maybe it was just like, because sometimes people have glitches and stuff, but pretty much all of the characters that were talking to me sounded like they were talking through a telephone. Like,
Oh,
it
that's
was
weird.
really weird audio. In particular, like your companions who are with you. Um, so that was fucking odd. And then I did encounter minor glitches now and again. In particular, there was an area where anytime I got into the water and got back out, the same dialogue repeated, but it was dialogue from a completely different location, and it
Oh,
happened every time. So it was like a very clear glitch. It didn't break the game, but it got annoying, and
right,
it was
yeah.
a part where I had to go into the water and come back out, and even like the dialogue was happening when the person was no longer with me, and I was like, what the fuck? And then the graphics, I don't think are as good as they could be. Sometimes they look good, and sometimes they really don't. And there's like pop-ins and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but generally speaking, it's a very enjoyable experience. I had a fun adventure playing Indiana Jones. I'd love to know what other people think. Um, Myself and Eric probably can't do a spoiler cast because Eric hasn't played it.
I
And
don't have an
unless he
Xbox One.
plans on picking up the PS5 version, which is coming out this year, um, he's not. I don't think you're likely to get it, and I don't know how I would
Probably
feel
not.
about it if I bought it, because
Yeah,
those
you see,
early
that's the
few
thing.
hours weren't that enjoyable. Whereas because it was on Game Pass, it was like, yeah, let's try out the new Indiana Jones game.
See, because that's the thing is I'm pretty sure I've said maybe I've said off podcast, maybe I've said on podcast, but like first person games aren't the most thrilling, exciting thing for me.
Hmm.
I'd really only like I'd try out first person if it was let's say I was at your house, you wanted me to try out Indiana Jones, and therefore I tried out, or it was like free on PlayStation Plus or something. I'm like, oh well, that looked interesting. I heard something good, but yeah, I wouldn't really.
Go out and buy it,
But
like, yeah.
yeah,
Well, you're always welcome to try out Indiana Jones if you want at mine.
thanks,
Um,
Chris.
it's a little bit like Hitman as well.
Nice.
I would say
You
the
can
game,
you can
like
drown
the
someone in a
Hitman
toilet.
games. No, you're not really killing people. You're more knocking people out. But like, just the different things you can use as weapons and the disguises you can put on to get into different locations, and you can pick up bodies and hide them and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of like you can have fun. There's a bit of a sandboxy experience to the open areas.
Nice.
Um, but I am really curious what other people think. And hey, maybe if there's anyone else out there who has played it who wants to like partner up to do a spoiler cast, I'm on for it. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of interesting stuff that does happen in the story that feels like an Indiana Jones adventure. But To this day, after finishing it, I still think the title sucks.
Oh,
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is not a good title. And even though I understand why it's called that in the context of the game, I still don't think it's a very good title. And I think they could have done a better title.
Which one do you think is the best title in all of
the
Indiana
ones that
Jones?
exist?
Yes.
Oh, Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom just has that's an amazing title.
Okay.
Do you not think?
I don't know. I was asking for your opinion. I wasn't like wanting to compare anything.
Which one do you think?
I honestly, I would have thought Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Do you know that one's not actually called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark? That is just called the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then it's only after that they became Indiana Jones and. I think it was because they were initially going for an American James Bond and James Bond, so it's like James Bond in.
Right. Okay.
Which I think is how that one starts. I think it's Indiana Jones in, and then it goes Raiders of the Lost Ark. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think that's how the first one goes. But the rest of them are Indiana Jones and the whatever. Last Crusade is also a good title.
That's a good title.
That was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like that's a cooler title than the movie is.
Yes.
Let us know your rankings of the Indiana Jones movies, guys.
Oh god, should we do that sometime? Should we rank the Indiana Jones experiences?
Yeah, we could do. There's only 5 of them, and they're done now. So
and the ride.
Well, there's a lot more games.
Is there?
Yeah, and there's a whole TV show. And
What?
So if you want to go outside of the 5 movies, you start opening up a can of worms of multiple.
Yeah,
things.
that's not. You know
There's
what?
Novels,
I think we're fine.
Yeah. You don't
I think
open
we have
up
other
that can of
things-
worms.
We have other things to do.
Myself and Ash actually also over the holiday period finally finished It Takes Two.
That was a long time.
We have been playing that game since it came out, on and off. Only when we were in the mood to play it. It's not one that we were ever racing to see the end of, more so one that we would enjoy playing together. That was by Hazelight. It was the game of the year in 2021. And we just finished it. And it was a fun time. It was a great game. The deeper you get into it, the more you realize why it won game of the year that year in terms of its mini games and game design and how many different things that they it can be infuriating, Eric, because
I wonder why they got game of the year there, Chris.
it all depends on who you're playing with.
I don't know.
Like,
I'd say it's designed to be infuriating no matter who you're playing with. And
no, it's designed that you have to communicate with one another to pull off tasks. And if you find it hard to explain what it is you want, like sometimes you're like, oh, just give me the controller, right? But you can't do that because the two of you need to be using the controller at the same time. So it's more like a test of patience than anything else.
It's really difficult.
Well, I'm really bad at explaining things. So I would explain stuff to Ash really badly. And then Ash wouldn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it would be my fault. And then I'd be getting infuriated. But again, because I can't actually relay what I'm trying to say. But I am looking forward to their next game coming out this year.
Split Fiction, is it?
Split Fiction, yeah. I think I will enjoy that setting a little bit more than It Takes Two. It Takes Two, it was very experimental, very weird. Some of the stuff that they do in it is like, I like that they're like, fuck it, any idea goes, but some of it is just a bit like I hated the book character shows up all the time, and some of the voice acting was a bit naff, but the actual gameplay is very good. But yes, infuriating sometimes trying to platform codependently can be very hard.
Yeah, that's why I got game of the year, because it's really hard. That's the key.
That's your theory. If it's very hard, it gets game of the year.
Yeah.
We must look back through all the games of the year games
and see if that's true.
And see if that holds up. Was The Witcher 3 hard? Is that very hard?
I have an Adam response to that, and I don't know if it's appropriate to say. I suppose if you play on a harder difficulties, it can be very hard. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Like in that case, every game is hard.
But then again, did The Witcher 3 get Game of the Year in 2015? I know it got a lot of Game of the Year awards, but did it get Game of the Year?
I believe it did. I believe it did.
Yeah. Oh.
Sure. How could it not? What else would get it?
I don't know. They might have given it to Phantom Pain or something. Didn't that come out that year? No, that didn't go with that. Yeah, actually did it. It might have.
It might have. That might have got it. Or did that just get Best Director?
I don't know.
It definitely got Best Director, I think.
Why?
Game of... Why? Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, I know, but
That was the year where Konami wouldn't let him go. And Jeff...
yes.
So they did the award. They had Kiefer Sutherland get it. And then Jeff actually said on the camera that Konami wouldn't let Kojima come. It's very disappointing. And from then onwards, Konami and Jeff are not friends.
I wonder why.
You'll notice Metal Gear Solid Delta hasn't been shown at any of Jeff's stuff, I don't think.
Yeah, probably never happen.
No. Let me just quickly look up Game of the Year 2015.
Quickly.
I think it was The Witcher 3.
It should be.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Yeah, Witcher 3.
Yeah, because it's super hard, like, you know what I mean? That's the formula.
Get the fuck out of here. It has to be the best game. That's the criteria. Yeah. Some people do like hard games though. Okay, so have you played anything else that you wanted to shout out?
Other than the board games, we did Adam got Ticket to Ride for Christmas, which is a board game where this is the Europe version, so you have a map of Europe, and you have to build like trains, and you have to build this. I thought that was a fun, easy game to get into.
Mm-hmm.
That was a weird suggestion. I thought it was a weird thing for him to ask for, but it was a fun game.
It is good crack, yeah.
We played the
Well,
Nemesis.
our cousin suggested it when he was over from Sweden.
True.
And he said it's absolutely brilliant, so I think that's where it came from.
That is true. He did. We also played the Nemesis board game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very fun.
Really good. That's really good.
That was a really good one. And then I've been trying out the Mass Effect board game, which was released last November. And that one's actually really easy to get into and play. Yeah. It's actually like Nemesis has so many pieces to set up and everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, you played it, you could see all the amount of pieces, all the different decks of cards and tokens and blah, blah, blah. Mass Effect is so easy. It's piss. And it's like, it literally tells you how to set it up. And it's actually quite fun. I nearly lost. I had Shepard doing the objective. Liara was like surrounded by two mechs and all these troopers. Tali and Garrus were down, and I was like, "Oh my god, am I gonna lose?"
I'm looking forward to playing that one. It's very hard to find the time to get around to all the things that we have.
True. Yes.
I also got a few board games over Christmas. My friend Danny got me it's a 2-player game, The Lord of the Rings Duel. I'm looking forward to actually trying that out and playing it because it has amazing reviews. It looks really, really good. We picked up the Jaws board game, which myself and Ash did play. That's very good, very fun, quick enough to play and quick to set up, and very, very in tune with the movie. Mm-hmm. And then I also got a James Bond board game called Spectre, and I've yet to find time to try that out. It's like there's so much stuff to get around to. And then as well, Adam and Pagan got for me Silent Hill 2, which now that I've completed Indiana Jones is going to be the next game that I move on to in terms of a single player experience. Obviously, Space Marine 2 will be the co-op multiplayer experience, and Silent Hill 2 is going to be the next single player experience. So I will be letting people know down the line how I get on with that. I'm absolutely cacking it. I'm terrified of Silent Hill, but I'm also really, really interested to see how it plays. I've seen a lot of it, but I haven't actually played it for myself. So, and it's always different to have it in your own hands.
Yes,
100%. Like I said about the Indiana Jones game earlier, I didn't like anything that I saw from that, but I enjoyed playing it. So it's
kind of like
very different
also like the Guardians game as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
This is why demos are important.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. We always stand by that. Demos are, in some cases, demos have sold games.
Yes, absolutely.
Demo to Batman Arkham Asylum sold that game. I do think Silent Hill 2 should have had a demo. I think it would have sold better if it did, because I think anyone who played it said it's way better than it looked, and was actually blown away by the game. And I think if there was a demo to try, people would have just out of curiosity tried it. And then if people really liked it. But I am shit scared to try it. But speaking of scary, myself and Eric and Adam and Pagan and our friend Tom and my sister-in-law Yvonne went to see Nosferatu last night at time of recording. the new Robert Eggers movie take on the Dracula story. It's a remake of the old 1922 Nosferatu,
Hmm.
which I think could be one of the first ever horror movies. If you think about it, 1922. How many horror movies were made back then? It could be one of the original horror movies. I don't
Did
know.
you know, actually, here's a fun fact. One of the first movies ever shown in cinema
Yeah.
was of a train coming into the station. That would have been the first horror movie ever shown in cinema because everyone shit at themselves and ran out of the screen because they thought the cinema was going or the train was
Yeah.
going to come to the screen. But yes,
That must
that
have been
was
mind
actually
blowing.
that was probably the first like proper horror movie I ever saw in cinema, I think.
What was Nosferatu?
Yeah. Not the
Um,
1922 version, I wasn't alive
no,
then,
no, of
but
course. Yeah, I was like, you went back in time. What?
yeah, yeah.
So it's a gothic horror movie,
Hmm.
starring Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård and Nicholas Hoult and Willem Dafoe and Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's a pretty star-studded cast, actually. Um, I was very much looking forward to this movie. Eric, what did you think of Nosferatu? And we won't do spoilers here. This is just a movie review, not no spoilers.
No, and I can say what Adam thought of the movie as well, which I
Hey,
probably would be on the same page with him,
yeah,
but I think I liked it more than him. But
okay.
that,
I was wondering if he would like it or not. I wasn't really sure.
yeah, I think I think it's we're on the same page. Pagan's on the same page as well, where it's really well done, but pacing is kind of where it starts to slip.
Okay.
Because like I went to the toilet during it, and I rarely ever go to the toilet during a movie. But I was sitting there going, I don't know how long is left, and I don't want to be sitting here like for much longer holding on to my bladder. So I was like, I better just leave and come back because I don't know how long this is. Because at times there was an element of this feels like this could go on for ages. I don't know because I don't know what point we're.
Hmm.
I mean, I honestly there was a part of me where I was like, we could be even at the end of the movie when Thomas jumped out. Sorry, but when Orlok leaves. I don't know what the fuck to say actually, because what is considered spoiler?
I think
There's
most people know in general the Dracula tale. I think what would be considered a spoiler is stuff like okay, so in the marketing they've been very very clear about not showing Count Orlok's appearance. So we won't talk about how he looks
fair
because
enough. Okay,
clearly that's been kept for they want that to be a surprise for people the first time
right.
you
Yeah.
actually see him. Things like
Yes.
that. But I think people know the Dracula myth. The guy goes to the castle, the
Right. So
vampire comes
when
back,
Thomas goes to the castle and he's with Orlok, and then eventually there's a point where Thomas leaves, and then Orlok also leaves, and there was a part of me going, we are we like we could be getting to the end of the movie because by this point I think every character has been introduced as well, but there's still another good bit actually onto the movie.
Hmm.
So that's where I felt like, all right, I'll definitely need to. I think it was a couple of scenes later, but I was like, I'm gonna need to go to the toilet because I don't know how long is left of this.
Yeah, yeah.
But I thought performances, uh, for the most part, were really good. The only one that was throwing me off was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, and it's not. He's a great actor. I
Yeah.
know he's a great actor, but I think it's the fact that they all have that. Oh, yes, we are super. I can't do the accent, but the super posh English accent,
Hmm.
I think, was somewhat throwing off his performance at times,
Right. Okay.
where it just didn't. How he was talking didn't quite match really what the character should be feeling, if that makes sense.
Like his emotional state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know the character is definitely that kind of old school male in that era of bottle your emotions kind of concept, or keep. But there's still just moments where I just thought it didn't quite match. Yeah, what the character was thinking. But for most of the part, I thought performances were very good. Uh, the main actor Lily Rose Depp. I remember the first time I saw, she's like the very first character we ever see in the movie, and I'm like, well, she's creepy, and she is
She's a bit creepy, yeah.
in the movie for sure. But I thought the camera work and lighting was very good. And I like that
The lighting is the star of the show.
lighting. The natural lighting that they use from the
Yeah, like
candles and the
yeah, and from the fireplace and anytime like There's a couple of shots in here as well that are the money shots. You know, there's a couple of shots he does in here where you're like, oh, this guy is directed the shit out of this shot right here. You know, maybe a
Yeah.
couple of ones like characters maybe in the snow or like a shot of someone looking out the window, but you can also see them in a mirror, but you can't. There's no
Yeah.
sign of cameras and shit. Like there is a couple of shots where you're like, that is fucking great right now what you're doing. And the
And it's
performances for the most part are very good,
yeah.
but at times quite melodramatic. And you're either into that or you're not. And sometimes
It's very
I was,
play-like.
yeah,
Very
sometimes I was
theatrical.
like, ah, come on, no one talks like that. And I don't mean the way in which they're speaking, but I do mean the actual like, yeah, like the turning away to look out the window to deliver a monologue while someone's
Right.
listening, and that kind of stuff really irks me. I'm just like, but some people love that, so that's
It's up
depends, you know?
there with the main character making a speech before a battle that hasn't been earned, is it?
Yeah. But it is. You're right. It's like a play. It's more like theater. You're
Yes.
basically watching theater being filmed across several locations, with very, very, very good performances. Bill Skarsgård is unrecognizable in the role,
Absolutely.
and certainly delivers what I think an iconic performance. But I think most performances of this character are pretty iconic anyway.
Mm.
And then I think the standout performance in the whole movie for me was Simon McBurney, who plays what's his name in this version? But he would be the Renfield character, I think.
Yeah, her Kern or something like that. Her Kern. Or so, I
In
don't know.
Herkenok or something like that.
Yeah, so he was.
He
I
was absolutely fucking amazing.
I was watching this movie going, he'd be a great penguin.
Oh, he was just brilliant. I thought he
Yeah.
was absolutely like hysterical and dramatic, and he was theatrical and he got away with it. He just
Well, yeah, I think it works
Ex-
with the character, but the
works
thing
because he's
is, like,
fucking mad, right? He's a
Yeah.
lunatic. But anyway,
and then when you first meet him, even though he doesn't have his mad persona yet, when you first meet him, there's still like something where I'm like,
there's something
this guy-
unsettling about him.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, he just doesn't. He seems slimy and stuff. Yeah, he did a great performance.
One thing that bothers me about the movie, right? And I've been saying this the whole time. I just don't really get it, right? So, I think Nosferatu is a better movie title than Dracula,
right?
but I see no reason to use the Nosferatu names or the location of Germany in this movie. I don't know why it isn't just Count Dracula and Van Helsing and Mina and what's the other dude? Jonathan, you know, and Renfield and London. Especially when they're all speaking in the most London accents. I think it's set in Germany. I don't fucking get it. And it's like, why is it set in Germany? Oh, because Nosferatu was. Nosferatu only was because it didn't have the rights, though. Whereas nowadays, all of that book is public domain. So they do have the rights. And I understand that it's a love letter to that classic Nosferatu movie that he saw. And, you know, there's shots where it's almost black and white and in the look of it and everything. You know, he has captured that Gothic remake. But I don't think those names, like, it just felt a bit like a Wish version or something. Anytime I heard the names where I'm like, it should just be the other names because they're more iconic. It's the same characters. It's the same storyline. I don't know. Maybe it's a silly thing to get caught up on. But for me, that really irked me a little bit. Where I was like, there's no rhyme or reason to decide I'm going to use the characters from the version that wasn't allowed to use the names. Even though I can use the names if I want. Of course I could.
Well, I suppose then, let's say he called it Nosferatu, and then he did the Dracula story. People might look at it and go, why did you call it Nosferatu and not just call it
But it is the Dracula story.
Yes, but the only reason they call it Nosferatu is because they didn't have rights to call it Dracula and use those characters.
Back then,
so
yes.
Right, but then in this
I
case,
don't
he might as well just...
understand.
But also,
know.
right, while it's very similar, there's still an element, without going into spoilers, there's still an element that the story is different.
Is there? I don't know. Have you watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, as in the one directed by Francis Ford Coppola?
Is that the one with Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched some of it, yeah.
This movie is the same movie pretty much.
It is the same movie, but I'd argue the motivation of Dracula and the motivation of Orlok is not the same.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I'll give you that. But
That because Dracula is
yeah.
a in its dark twisted way a romance story.
Hmm.
Contrary to what Pagan might say, I would not say that this is a romance story.
I don't know. I think that's open to interpretation.
Right,
And
but I think Dracula is much more clear.
right. I look at the way I think this movie was really.
I understand what you mean.
I don't want to get.
I
I don't want to
you.
get caught up on the names because it doesn't fucking matter. Actually, the movie is a well-made movie, and I enjoyed it. It just felt a bit like if you were watching a Batman movie and he's called Bruce Kane instead of Bruce Wayne, and you're like, just call him Bruce Wayne. I know it's Batman. That's all I mean. It's just, where everything's just that little bit off. No, do you know what? This is what it is. It's. Do you remember the James Bond Never Say Never Again, which is a remake of Thunderball, but they're using slightly different names, like Max Largo instead of Emilio Largo, and it's the same plot, but it feels a bit off, That's how I felt.
Or like or like the Hulk, where it's Robert Banner rather than Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that old Hulk show. That's what I mean. Where it's just if I don't understand the rhyme or reason to not use the classic or the iconic character names. However, I think it was well told. I think the performances were great. I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't love the movie. And it certainly does not replace the substance as my favorite movie of 2024.
That is fair. I definitely I enjoy the movie. I like so far I've seen three of his movies. I like all three of his movies, but they are definitely the types of movies where I'm just like, I wouldn't be in a hurry to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to take away from it, but it's just that they're almost heavy hitters, maybe. Like Joker. Joker's a great movie, but I
Yeah,
definitely
you got to be in the mood. You're not just going to
yeah.
throw Joker on.
Yeah, you gotta be in a mood. So it's the same. They're heavy hitter movies. Like you really gotta sit down and go, okay, right, let's watch this movie. But as you said, some of the camera angles and lighting is just like
Gorgeous.
again, as you said, when it's nighttime, it almost looks black and white.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
even though the color is there, I don't think it ever is black and white. It's just nearly black and white sometimes.
Part
And
of
the
me
use of
actually
shadows is very good.
yeah, and part of me wishes it was black and white. The movie.
The whole movie? Yeah.
Yeah, part
I
of me.
wonder if he thought about it. But I suppose there's a couple of shots that are powerful because color comes in.
Yeah, the lighting is very good, and the shadows were very good.
Yeah. But yeah, so if anyone's seen Nosferatu, let us know what you think of the movie. And I don't know, does anyone else get caught up on the names, or is that a fucking stupid thing? And Chris, shut the fuck up. Why was that such a big rant in this episode?
One thing actually, there's a panning shot. There's an arcing panning shot in the movie at one bit. I won't explain why. But I remember seeing it going, there's that pretentious shot from The Green Knight. You saw The Green Knight, didn't you?
I did see The Green Knight.
Do you remember when they do that big 360 arcing shot? And it goes on for ages. And then they do it again back the other way. It goes on for ages, and it's just really fucking stupid.
Okay.
At least it's not as bad as that, but they do this long arcing 180 shot. I'm just like, what? Why? Just cut to. Just what are you doing? Speed it up or something. Cut. I think that's what Adam's issue was. Sometimes there was panning shots that were just
unnecessary. Yeah,
unnecessary.
There was a little bit of indulgency in some of the
yes.
In dragging out some scenes, and then there was some kind of awkward cuts sometimes where it would cut to like a character saying something and it would feel really out of place, or like that didn't happen just there, and then but for the most part I think it's a well-made movie. Another thing that I watched that I want to get in over the holiday period was Squid Game season 2. Guys, let us know if you've been watching Squid Game. We have been told that season 3 is actually coming out this year. They filmed both at the same time.
Wow. Holy
and
fuck.
It's going to be the final season. Now, they have said Netflix will probably do stuff with Squid Game afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, which they probably will, whether it's spin-offs or American remakes or shit like that.
Oh,
but in terms of this version of Squid Game. It's going to be the last season. I can't wait. I'm also shocked it's going to be a fucking big year for Netflix. They're going to be crying that they're ending Stranger Things and Squid Game in the same year.
Yeah, and
Which
Arcane was
I
done
think,
at the end of the 2024 as
yeah,
well. They're
which
fucking...
easily their biggest shows.
Oh, and Witcher is
Easily.
ending this year in case
Is
no
it as
one gave
well?
a crap. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's not one of their biggest shows.
No.
But Squid Game and Stranger Things,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say, are the biggest
Yeah.
shows on Netflix. But Squid Game season 2, not as gripping as season 1, but I think
Hmm.
that's hard
Right.
anyway. So it's hard to recapture lightning in that bottle.
Fair.
But also a very good natural season 2. Some really interesting new characters brought in. Some interesting new games that add an interesting dynamic. And yeah, that gripping tension that you want in this kind of a show. Plenty of moments where you're like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this one? How the fuck are they going to get out of this one? Really clever choices made throughout. I don't think the last episode worked as a finale. And then it makes sense when you find out that the next season is coming out this year. It
Right.
feels like, do you remember Stranger Things season 4? And they split it up into 2 acts. And Act 1 ended at a point that was really good, but you knew, like, Act 2 was coming very soon.
Right. Yeah.
And you knew it wasn't the finale. But when
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to the end of Act 2, it was like, oh, that's the finale.
Hmm.
This felt like, and it was a season, it felt like the Act 1 part.
Okay.
Doesn't feel like a season finale. It feels like a to be continued, which I know all shows do anyway, but
Hmm.
like season 1 felt very conclusive, and then a bit of
Okay.
maybe there's more to come. Whereas this one was very much there is definitely more to come. We've just stopped here.
Okay.
And so I'm glad season 3 isn't too far away. I think if it was another 2 years away or something, this would have felt a bit meh. But
Right. Yeah.
because it's not that far away, we don't have to wait too long. But man, the writing and the
Do they?
performances continue to be absolutely amazing.
Is that ever explained why it's called Squid Games?
Oh yeah. So there's a game. One of the games is called Squid Game. That's
Oh.
that's it. So it's a kids game played in Korea.
Oh.
And a lot of
And
the
then these creators just took a really dark twist to everything.
yeah, very much
Nice.
so. I was
Nice.
thinking as well, like a lot of people compare it to, especially people who haven't watched it, compared to Battle Royale, and it's not quite accurate actually. They're not a bunch of people sent in to kill each other, but they realize that they can.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more that they have to play these games, and if they lose the game, they die. But every time they die, more money gets added to the pot.
Okay.
So
Right. So
stuff.
greed can start to take over. Okay.
Oh, and people change, and that's the interesting part. And also the whole like why would any of the decent characters you see in it continue to want to play? And when they all start sharing their life stories of why they're there, or the fact that they're in so much debt to like loan sharks or something, that if they leave this place, they're dead anyway. That they are
Right.
willing to risk their life because there's nothing for them. You start getting into all these, and there's a lot of like really interesting new characters. There's one character I fucking hated though. I think other people liked them. They were this new character. They were a rapper character, and they sometimes spoke in English, and it just jarred at me. It was weird, and I don't think they were a particularly interesting character. Actually, I think they were a bit
Okay.
one note. They were the dickhead basically.
Oh,
And their
okay.
job was to be the dickhead. I think they do a better job with other characters who start off as decent and
Then
get kind of wrapped up in the whole thing. They tend to be more interesting characters to me. But yeah, Squid Game continues to be a great show. Can't wait to see the finale, and I'm glad that they're not going to drag it out to like 10 seasons. Again, it's not a show that would work that way. It would get really, really like oh, they're doing it again. Like they're playing more games. Like why the fuck?
yeah, like if they expanded out that way, it would just eventually get to the point where now the whole world is
Yeah,
involved
the
in
whole
Squid
world
Game.
is playing. So yeah, let us know if you've been watching Squid Game. What do you think of it? Are you excited for season 3? And if you have any theories, feel free to share them. Eric, anything else you've watched or anything else you wanted to shout out before we wrap up this week's episode?
Um, No, actually. The only thing really is in a couple of months' time, you might see a very different background because I'm moving my office to well, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So this is my office and kind of paint area and work area at the moment. So we're actually going to be swapping. So this will become my bedroom, and then this will go upstairs to where my bedroom is at the moment. That's
okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I
that's
like that. Bit of a
bit of a
change
bit
in
of change, yeah,
background. You
yeah.
know, bit of a. That's
Better
cool.
warn people before they get all scared, like, because they're like, "What the fuck happened to where did
No,
Eric go?"
I don't think they will. but I'm excited to see how it's all going to look when it's all changed and all different stuff. That sounds cool.
Thanks.
Um, so that's going to wrap up the first episode of 2025. Guys, we hope you all had an amazing holiday period, whatever way you celebrate or whatever it is you do. We hope it was festive. We hope you got to spend a lot of time with family or friends, as we did. Um, and that you got time to watch things and play things. And if you did, what did you get up to? So if you're watching YouTube, make sure you jump down in the comments, either to share your thoughts on the stuff we brought up, or to let us know what you played, what you watched, any recommendations you have for us going forward, especially if anything that's coming up in 2025 that you think we should be keeping an eye out for. Do let us know. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content coming this year. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on everything brought up in this week's episode. But that's it for looking back. Next week, we are going to be looking forward into 2025, and we're going to be talking about our most anticipated releases for 2025, and we'll want to hear yours too. So make sure you come back to check out next week's episode. We will be back to talk to you guys next time.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.